Morning, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers, and we're here today to answer any type of cloud computing questions you may have, specifically as it pertains to building your cloud computing career. Maybe you desire your first cloud architect job, or your first solution architect job, or your first cloud engineer job, or enterprise architect job, and that's why we're here to help you get the cloud computing job of your dreams. I've been working in technology now for over 25 years, and I've spent more than 2 decades helping others get their first tech job or get promoted in tech, and I want to help you get cloud hired or cloud promoted. And that's why we're here 3 times per week for you, completely free, answering your questions, because I know the shortest distance between 2 points has a straight line. Now, being in technology for 25 plus years, I've seen people get to the top very easily, and I've seen people struggle to go anywhere. And it really has to do with your plan and executing on that plan to get to your goals. You know, it's been said that when you fail to make a plan, you're planning to fail. And I strongly believe that. And I also believe to some degree in life, we make our own luck. I believe that luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So the better prepared you are, the better your training is, the better your planning is, and the execution of your plan. When it comes down to it, you'll be the one that gets the job. And everybody else will be making up excuses why they're not hired, and you'll be cloud hired. And that's why we're here, to help you get that first solution architect job, first cloud architect job, first cloud engineer job, to truly build the cloud computing career of your dreams. So ask us any questions that you have. While we're waiting for you to ask questions, let's talk about some things that we're doing to help you in the community. Tomorrow, we're going to have our completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. It's going to be a slightly different webinar than we do normally. We're going to make it a special session for you. We'll be on Zoom. You'll be able to ask questions, participate in any way, shape, or form. Plus, we may simultaneously stream it as well on YouTube as well. So make sure you sign up for the free webinar, and it's going to be a great experience. You're going to learn a lot, and you'll know exactly what you need to do. Guess what? Get cloud hired. Join us tomorrow while we're at it. At the same time, more free things that we have for you. My team is getting ready to release a book on passing the Google Professional Cloud Architect exam in the next month or so, approximately. It's with the editing team right now, and we're going to release that completely free. So pre-register and sign up for the Google Professional Cloud Architect Study Guide. The link is in the chat box and the description below. Now, I've asked my team to give us all 30% off for my birthday, to make sure that you guys can take advantage of building your career at the lowest cost possible. At the current rate with my birthday sale, the average graduate will basically be able to do all our training for less than 2 days pay for the average graduate of our program. And that's why we created this, to help you build your best cloud computing career. So take advantage of the 30% off discount on the Cloud Architect Career Development Program if you want to be a cloud architect, or a cloud engineer career development program if you desire to be a cloud engineer. And, that's the thing that you're trying to talk about. So kind of keep this in the back of your mind. And while we're at it, we've got a LinkedIn and resume workshop in September. You could be like one of my students that gets bombarded by recruiters and hiring managers every day. I want to interview you. I want to interview you. And then at that point, guess what? It's going to be up to your competency, your attitude, your energy, your enthusiasm, your passion, etc. to get hired. But you got to get that interview. And this LinkedIn and resume workshop will help you get your interview, and we'll do it cheaper than it would be to have somebody that doesn't even know how to make your resume do your resume, and you'll know what to do for the rest of your life. So please join us. Now, at this point, bring us your career questions so we can kind of help you. And that's really the key. So bring us some questions. While we're at it, give me a cloud hired, and give me a hashtag of the career that you desire. Hashtag cloud hired, hashtag a solution architect, hashtag cloud architect, hashtag cloud engineer. So I know that you're awake, alert, and oriented. And while we're at it, tell us where you're from. Good morning, Eddie Patrick. It's so good to see you. Alonzo Coleman, good morning. Welcome, everyone. And yes, hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get informed of all those new great things we have coming your way. Ihad, hi, good morning. It's good to see you. Claude hired Singh. It's so great to see you. Robert Welch, cloud hired, cloud security architect in Dallas. Robert, you are a great cloud security architect and fantastic over there in Dallas. Collins, good morning. How are you on Twitch this morning? And Amber, good morning in Texas. So good to see you here. Recently you were asked a question and you don't know the proper answer. You were asked what documentation will you use to communicate with your developers. Can you help me with this question? Now, that's normally the kind of thing we would do in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. But here's the thing. What are you going to use to communicate to your team? Everything. Everything. You're going to have phone calls with your developers. You're going to have Zoom meetings or Google Meet or WebEx meetings with your developers. You're going to write up documents that are architectural documents for your developers. You're going to write up technical documents for the developers. You're going to be emailing your developers. It's going to be communication. Now, that's really the key. So what are you going to be doing, Emad? And what they wanted to know when they asked this question is they wanted to see if you passed a certification exam or if you actually knew the job. What they're looking for is to know that you don't touch the tech. You don't touch anything at all, ever. What we do as the architect is we design it, present it, and sell it. And we have to build and lead a very large team of developers and DevOps engineers and maintenance people called sysops people and cloud engineers that are going to build it. And that's what they're looking for, to see if you knew that. So the answer is, it's not one form of development, and that's a trick question. It's a lot of forms of communication you're using with them. Perhaps you guys are using a project management tool called Asana where people can see what's going on. Perhaps you're definitely writing Word documents. There may be some spreadsheets that are going along the way. You're going to need to take your developers for dinner and drinks. You're going to need to have meetings with your developers and be like their psychological coach. You're going to be working with large teams, and you're going to be buying them dinner, drinks, taking them golfing, talking to them, trying to figure out how to make them happy. And Emad, that's why this job is not a hands-on tech job. And that's where everybody goes wrong. They're so busy trying to figure out how to code and configure, which we don't do as architects anyway. And the whole job is about coordinating the results of different people, getting everybody into the same room and talking. So it's going to be a combination of presentations, unified communications things such as WebEx or Zoom, for example. So there is that. And then where are we going to after that? There's going to be Word documents. There's going to be Excel spreadsheets. There's going to be PM tools and other tools that are used along the way. So Emad, it's everything. And they really wanted to know that it's not one single document, that your whole job is communicating to be able to translate the requirements from the executives to the technical team. So those are the kind of things. Good question, though. Please ask us some more questions. That's the point. What kind of coding or programming do cloud architects do, or cloud engineers need to know? That's the point. These jobs couldn't be further from the difference. Cloud architects do not code. I'm going to say it again. Cloud architects do not code. Cloud architects do not code. Cloud architects design, present, and sell. Say it with me, everybody. Design, present, and sell. That's what we do. So for cloud architects, it's critical to have business acumen and leadership skills and sales skills and executive presence and the ability to do an ROI model to show the customer the value of the solution is greater than its cost. You have to be able to build a team of 20 people, entertain the team, bring out the best in the team, lead the team of people that don't work for you. You have to be in a position to go to the CEO of your company and the senior vice presidents and executive vice presidents of your company and borrow resources to be on your team. As a cloud architect, you're going to be presenting at industry conferences. You're going to be writing thought leadership documents. You're going to be in the press, etc., working booths at conferences. So cloud architects don't touch the tech. So cloud architects don't code. Cloud architects don't configure. Cloud architects don't do DevOps. Cloud architects are a business executive that knows tech. Now, cloud engineers are the exact opposite. The cloud engineer is a strong technology professional that builds things, which means a cloud engineer a cloud engineer really needs to be able to be hands-on and code, specifically in Python, because they're not software developers, but they definitely need to know Python. And they, typically speaking, will be writing some Bash shell script, potentially even a Windows PowerShell script. And a cloud engineer will need to know Terraform or infrastructure as code, because that's going to be used everywhere for cloud engineers. Everywhere. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So architects design, present, and sell. Engineers code and configure. So there's a huge difference. And that's why that's the point, that engineering training does not help you become an architect, because it's different skills. And architect training does not make you an engineer. And that's the point. These jobs are so different that when I work with cloud engineers, 50% of their challenge is to unlearn all the engineering and that hands-on stuff so they can focus on the big picture as opposed to the details which are necessary for an engineer. So cloud architect, design, present, and sell. Cloud engineer, build, configure. And those are the kind of things that you need to know. And that's why people aren't getting architect jobs, because they're training for engineering jobs when they want to be an architect, and vice versa. So you got to know exactly what job you want. And I'm going to give you a little more guidance. If you want to design, present, and sell, you want to be an architect. If you want to sit behind a desk all day long and code and configure, then you want to be an engineer. Kind of keep that in the back of your mind, and you should be good to go. Please ask us your career questions in the chat box, and we will do anything we can to help you build your best career. Steve M, love your videos, they're great. What's the difference in the courses offers? Currently, you have your practitioner certification. However, you're struggling to find a job, your game plan to get hired. Steve, I'm going to tell you this right now. With all 10 certifications, if you wanted to be a cloud architect, it wouldn't be enough. And Steve, the reason certifications won't get anybody a cloud job are as follows. They're unrelated to anything we do. Now, the cloud practitioner certification, I'll tell you what that is. If you've been a sales rep in tech, maybe you worked at Cisco as an account manager or Microsoft as an account manager, and you wanted to sell stuff, and you've been already closing deals of $10 million to $100 million, and you had the cloud practitioner, it would prepare you to help sell AWS stuff. But still, nobody would hire you for the cloud practitioner. Nobody would hire you for the certified solution architect professional either, ever, because it's not enough to get any job. So the key is figuring out the job that you want. So for example, I have programs designed to get you hired. Now, Steve, I will tell you this. I've interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people, and none of them were hireable for any job, despite all the certifications they have, including the AWS certified solution architect professional. And here's the reason, Steve. And I'll give you the cloud architect skills versus the cloud engineer skills and show you why none of them are covered in certification. If you're a cloud architect, you design, present, and sell. What don't architects do? They don't code or configure. Now, an architect needs to go solve a customer's business problem with technology. An engineer needs to build it, and we'll talk about the difference. So as an architect, it has nothing to do with what's in the cloud computing certifications. Here's the big challenge with the cloud computing certifications. What we do, Steve, as an architect, is we take the stuff out of the network and the data center, and we move it to the cloud, which is another network and a data center. And what's not covered in the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, which wouldn't get you a job anyway, is anything more than the name of a service and how to configure that service. Now, here's the thing. Architects don't use those names because your customers will laugh you out of the room. I can't talk to somebody about their Amazon Simple Storage solution, but I can talk to them about their object storage, which is a totally different situation. So I can't use the name of any of those services with my customers. Most of the services are proprietary, so I can't use half of the services because my customers need open standards because most of them are multi-cloud, and almost all of them will be. So there's that. Now, the next part of it is we have to understand the stuff in the network and the data center. Now, why is it more critical to know the network and the data center than the cloud? Two reasons. One is we architects take it from the network and the data center to the cloud, and you can't take or move what you don't understand. And these certifications, like the Certified Solution Architect Professional, which, whatever, they don't teach you what all that stuff is that you're moving, so you can't do the job at all. So what you need to know is as follows, and this stuff is not covered by these certifications. Well, I'll give you the tech side, and I'm going to also tell you, Steve, that for the architect roles, the tech is only half of it. It's the non-tech that's the hard stuff, which we teach both. So the tech stuff that you need to learn is BGP. You need to learn about interior gateway protocols. You need to learn about WAN technology, such as IPsec tunnels, SSL-based VPNs, private lines, Ethernet over MPLS, software-defined networking, SASE. You need to understand switching and switching concepts, such as VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, spanning tree, rapid spanning tree. You need to know IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting, route aggregation. Again, none of this stuff's covered in any of these certifications. You need to understand NAT, and not like the silly NAT that they talk about in the Certified Solution Architect Professional, but whether you're dealing with one-to-one NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAT, and you need to know how to use all of them. All of them. Then you should have a good knowledge on DNS, DHCP, ARP, proxy ARP, and then you need to understand servers and server virtualization, containers and container orchestration, block storage, object storage, file storage, business applications such as CRM applications, ERP applications, and what they do and how they can impact business, unified communications applications, load balancers, when to use network load balancers, application load balancers, when to use both of them. Then you need to understand your security things, writing security policy, authentication systems, next generation firewalls, VPN concentrators, IDS, IPS systems. Again, none of this stuff's covered in your certification. So that's the technical stuff for the architect. Now, Steve, the non-technical stuff for the architect is the leadership skills, the sales skills, executive presence, emotional intelligence, ROI modeling, CXO relevancy, executive writing, executive presenting, executive negotiation. So there's that. So Steve, those are the skills that you need, and they're the skills that we teach in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. That's a program to take anyone, regardless of their background, and get them the first cloud architect job. And we've got people that everywhere as much from Pritipal Sejan, who took our course, who became an enterprise architect directly out of the course because he had some tech experience, to people like Jeffrey West, Jessica, Delroy, Daniel, Ivan, Coyote, that never worked in tech in their entire life, and now are working as cloud architects directly out of our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. Now, Steve, by comparison, our Cloud Engineer Career Development Program will make you a cloud engineer. And again, you need to learn so many skills outside of certification for the cloud engineering role. In our Cloud Engineer Career Development Program, we make you wonderful, wonderful cloud engineers. And how do we do that? We teach you all the cloud and non-cloud and network and data center things, just like we talked about for the architects. But because the engineers are building them, they need more. We teach our engineers Python coding. We teach our engineers heavy amounts of Linux. We basically teach our engineers cloud building, and more cloud building. We teach our engineers how to write a Bash shell script. We teach our engineers Terraform. We teach our engineers about CI/CD pipelines, because that's the engineering skill set. So Steve, realize that certifications themselves, the Certified Solution Architect Professional, is between 5 and 10% of what you need to get hired. And all those other things need to be coming from somewhere else. Now, you can have 15 years experience and hopefully learn those things, or you can take a course like our Cloud Architect Career Development Program and be hired straight out of the course. My students get hired every day. But that's the key that we need to talk about. We need to make sure that our students that you're doing well, and that the key is that you understand certification is not going to get you any job. It's so important, I need to say it again. Certification will not get you any job in 2022, except the Cisco Certified Internet Expert exam. But I'm telling you right now, that exam is going to cost you between $10,000 and $40,000 to pass. You're going to read between 50 and 75,000 pages of reading to do it. And you can do it. And it's a great exam, and I did it. But still, that will get you a networking job. But all the better jobs want more than just certification. Certification is like icing on the cake, Steve. Nobody buys icing and eats it out of the jar. But you make a great cake, because people tell me they like to eat cake. And then you put a good icing on it, and people tell me it makes a much better cake. And that's really the key. Realize the certifications are the icing. But without the substance of the cake, they're meaningless. So keep that in the back of your mind. We like certifications, and we do them for the following reason. They help you get an interview. But that's the limit of their functionality. After that, it's all about what do you know in your head. We could easily get you cloud hired if you like. If you do our work and follow our program, we do it every single day. And we would love to. But just understand that the certifications aren't really going to get you anywhere, because they don't address the things that customers need. How to design it, present it, or sell it for the architect, or how to build it for the engineer. And here's the reason why. There's so many systems that are not part of the certification that's part of the whole package that we need to deal with. So great question. If you guys have some questions, please ask the questions, pop them in the chat box. That's why we're here. And Chris or Chow or whoever's behind the scenes, if you want to go to the next one. Hi, Flying Kites. Hey, Mike, do you think the short-term future holds like for different cloud careers given the current economic environment? Flying Kites, I think when we're dealing with the current economic environment, which is we are in a recession, very clear. Not only do we have 2 negative quarters of GDP growth, but we're dealing with 10% inflation plus negative GDP growth. And if we adjust the nominal dollars for real dollars, then we really see exactly how bad of the negative GDP growth that we're actually in. Now, having said that, Flying Kites, my students are getting hired every day, and here's the reason why. In a bad economy, the cloud architect career should grow. We feel it'll grow, and there's the reason we feel it'll grow. Why do people go to the cloud? To improve their businesses with technology. Environment gets bad. This is the perfect time for a cloud architect. Company needs to do layoffs. The cloud architects are going to be in there proposing robotic solutions that are going to make it to or self-checkouts. That we need less employees. The cloud architect will design a technology system that will cost less than the organization's current businesses. The cloud architect will generate new sources of revenue through their understanding of business acumen and knowledge. So that when they speak to the customer about their business problems, they're able to generate ways to make their customers more business profitable. The cloud architect is going to be able to build a business case to show the customer that, hey, by investing in this tech, you're going to make more money, and they'll buy the tech. So Flying Kites, revenue positions like architects and sales, these positions get better in a bad economic environment because we are the people that save companies money, or we bring money into our companies. So when there's layoffs and bad things, the architect and the sales and the pre-sales people do great. Now, Flying Kites, the engineers of the world, this is another story. Now, cloud engineers normally would be on the chopping block when there's a bad economy, but I still feel we're good in the cloud engineer world for the following reason. It's generally cheaper to be in the cloud than the data center. And because of that, what you have to understand is as follows. The engineers might still have jobs in a down economy. Now, who else will have relatively good jobs in a down economy? DevOps careers, because they automate and cut costs, and in general, those things are going to be good. Now, which jobs are going to get destroyed? There's a reason I don't have anybody doing it. I don't teach coding, because it doesn't matter whether the person that is coding is this in the Chicago, Cambodia, Cape Town, Cameroon, or Cuba. I like the Cookie Monster, so I like things that begin with C. But that's really the point. The point is where your software developer is doesn't matter in the world. And those jobs are ripe for getting laid off. And you can replace an $80 worker in America with a better worker for $15 an hour someplace else in the world that's willing to work harder and is exceptionally good, if not better. And in a bad economy, we outsource. So for our cloud architects, we feel good. For our cloud engineers, we still feel good. But for programmers, for sysops people, which are maintenance people, any of those, admin people, forget it. They're laid off and gone. We don't need them. One DevOps engineer can replace 30 admins with just infrastructure as code. So we don't need the admins anymore. And, we can outsource our software development thing. So anything that's tied to revenue is good. Now, Flying Kites, I've never been laid off. And truthfully, I've coached people for 20 years and only one of them ever got laid off. And he had a 6-figure, severance package and had another job, I'm not joking, another job paying him $300,000 within a week. Because if you're really good at what you do, you don't worry about the economy. We're always in demand. Now, if you've got a product that you have to sell and your customer is selling to retail, yeah, but there's a role in an architect. If you're good, you're employed. So keep that in the back of your mind. Lots of opportunities. These are the things that you need to worry about, and you'll be good to go. So great times. We've got so much migration to the cloud. I think you'll be pretty safe in these cloud careers, especially architecture careers. So remember, who gets laid off? People that cost money. Cloud architect brings in money. Companies need them in a bad economy. Back-end operations people, marketing people, back-end engineering, tech support laid off. Who's brought in sales reps, architects to bring in the money to help the company survive. So I'd say stay on the sales side, stay on the architect side, and you'll be good, go. Collins, what is the possibility of an HR in healthcare transitioning to cloud architecture, formerly HR and GAS? Collins, 100% if you want to. What do you mean, what is the possibility? Your past has nothing to do with your future. Yesterday, I ate chicken for dinner. Does that mean I have to eat chicken for dinner tomorrow? Of course not. So no, if you want to do it, the chances are 100% if you do the work. So the key is your past has no bearing on your future. I used to practice internal medicine. Daniel was selling shoes at Nordstrom. Yvonne Tamba was working as a waiter. Jermaine was selling landscaping gear. Jeffrey was doing geology work. I mean, the point is I could go on and go on and go on and go on and go on. It doesn't matter what your background is. It's completely irrelevant. We had a student that didn't even graduate high school. And he doesn't even have a GED, and he's now working as a cloud architect because he's great, Collins. His attitude's great, his enthusiasm's great, his competency's great, his knowledge is great, his communication skills are great. Why wouldn't you go from healthcare to tech? I did. So I don't really understand where the question is from. Well, Collins, you're smart, you're capable, just do it. You're getting the right training, follow the training, never quit until you're there, and you'll be there. So it really doesn't matter where your background is. What matters is how hard are you willing to work? That's what separates the people that win from the people that don't win. Who makes it through SEAL training or BUDS? Who makes it through SAS, Special Forces Selection in England? Who makes it to Distinguished Architect? The people that work harder. They find they've got a goal. They build a plan. They work to execute on that plan, execute on that plan, execute on the plan, execute on that plan, execute on the plan, until they've achieved the plan. And Collins, when you get there, it's not going to be the end. You're going to be a cloud architect, and you're going to say, I like this, but I want to focus on this kind of cloud architect. Great. You may find something else. But not only is it that, you may actually find that you've got a background in something else. So if you've got a huge background in healthcare, you may actually understand healthcare workflows, healthcare business needs, healthcare requirements. And if you do, you'll be in an even better position to get hired in the healthcare space, design solutions for the healthcare space, and most importantly, create solutions that make the healthcare space better. Industry knowledge, Collins, is so critical. I'll give you an example of industry knowledge being good versus businesses that are making architectures the wrong way. You'll always hear me tell you, people will ask me, Mike, can I have a reference architecture? And I say, no. And they say, why? I found a book on reference architectures. And I said, that's a book that you should throw away, burn, and use it to heat your house in the winter. And they say, why, Mike? And I said, because the business requirements determine your architecture, not some little silly architecture document that somebody said, here, follow our architectural framework. It's ridiculous. Now, Collins, I'll give you a little more data. About 10 years ago, the US government mandated electronic health records. Now, prior to the electronic health records, Collins, we were using paper healthcare records. And the nurses would get together in the units and they'd say, what do you think Mike wrote in the orders? Was it dopamine or dobutamine? What was it? What do you think he wrote? That's how bad it was. They were looking at our sloppy handwriting. In those days, Collins, medical errors were the 5th leading cause of death in the US, killing 98,000 people per year through our sloppy paper charts. Now, I remember I started doing healthcare consulting and organizations were saying, which electronic health record should I buy? I'm like, which is the best technology? And I'd say, what are your nurses' workflow? How does your team work? How do they operate? How does the patient come in on the journey on your side? How does the patients move from unit to unit? And they said, Mike, I asked you a tech question. And I said, I can't answer your tech thing until I know what your employees do. Because the wrong system will hurt you, and the right system will make you more efficient. So Collins, I consulted to lots of people in medical grade network and clinical applications, and they did great. By comparison, there were a lot of people in tech, oh, buy this, it's the best router, buy this, it's the best unified communication thing, buy this, it's the best EMR. And they shoved technology down hospitals' throats. Government even mandated it. And we all believed in our heart it was going to make it good, right? Now, what happened to medical errors after we went from sloppy paper to beautiful technology systems, which nobody thought about the workflow? Well, medical errors went from 98,000 a year and the fifth leading cause of death to 250,000 medical errors a year, the third leading cause of death prior to COVID. We basically killed 250% more people by using tech. Pretty horrible. The tech. See, the tech didn't drive transformation. I mean, it drove transformation. It drove transformation from something that was a little broken to something that's a lot broken. So, Collins, now, if you knew healthcare, you'd be able to advise that organization as a healthcare cloud architect to say, look, just because this looks good, maybe I should adopt this versus this. And that's why business acumen matters more than your tech skills, Collins. Your ability to ask the right questions to the customer, to find out what they need, is critical. Understanding of the business is critical. And whether that be reading a financial statement, reading a balance sheet, etc., you're good. So that background in HR is probably going to be better for you than if it was a background in engineering. Because this makes you more relevant. You know how to work with people. Architect leads people. Architect builds teams of people. That HR experience is looking awfully good right now. So the key is to leverage your past strengths for your new job. Not worry that they're not related. They're very related. You may be better off managing your team of 50 cloud engineers. They're going to help you with proof of concept from that HR background. So focus on your old life, how it makes your new life better. Not that it's different, because I promise you all these jobs are the same. They're all the same. And that's where people don't get the architecture job. The architect, the doctor, the lawyer, the accountant, it's all the same job. So if I practice medicine and somebody comes to the office and I say, what brings you in today? That's their problem, right? And then I ask them some questions. Then I examine them, make a diagnosis and a plan. What's an architect do? I interview my client. I ask some questions. I baseline their systems. I make a diagnosis and a plan. Doctor interview a patient. Architect interview a client. Doctor examine the patient's systems. Architect bring in a team of cloud engineers to examine the organization systems. Doctor make a diagnosis. Architect make a diagnosis/hypothesis. Doctor make a plan. Architect make a plan called an architecture. It's the same job. Hey, I got a speeding ticket in Virginia a couple of years ago. I was really mad because I was keeping up with the flow of traffic, but I got pulled over. So I called the lawyer, right? I didn't want a ticket on my resume. And the lawyer says, were you on 95 in this exact spot? And I said, yes, I was. He said, speed trap where they get out of state plates. And I said, can I do anything about this? And he said, sure. He says, how was your conversation with the police officer? I said, very respectful. I thanked him for keeping me safe. And he said, good. Now he's not going to hate you. He said, now I can negotiate for you. And then he said, no. And he said, next. He said, can you send me the ticket? I sent him the ticket. He said, I know what to do here. He built a plan, went to court, and I paid a fee, and the ticket was discharged. See, that's the key. The lawyer asked me some questions, examined the evidence, made a diagnosis, and made a plan. It's the same job. So the key is realize you may already be doing the job. You just don't know it yet. And that job is very different than the engineering job. So you may think you're further out, and I might think you're actually closer. It's all about positioning, Collins. It's all about knowing the job, knowing exactly what we do in the job, and then showing that hiring manager that you are, in fact, experienced, very experienced. Like your background, Collins. I think it's terrific. So please bring in some questions so we can help you build careers. Win. Hey, Mike, can you please elaborate more on what you mean by design, present, and sell? Your interim article this morning, you want to know more about this. Sure. So I want you to think of two different spectrums. Two different spectrums. Spectrum one, design. So let's take it out of the architect world, the tech world, and bring it into the regular architect world because it's the same job, and then we'll be there. So if I wanted to design a hotel, let's say I was going to go build a hotel in Dubai, and I wanted it to be 1,500 meters tall, and I wanted it to have 4,000 rooms, and I wanted it to be a 5-star hotel, and I wanted it to have 3 pools, and I wanted a waterfall, a lush garden, and a golf course. I'd hire an architect, right? The architect would design it. And they build a model of it and build some blueprints. Then that architect would present it back to me. Mr. Gibbs, your brand new hotel in Dubai, here's what it's going to look like. The people are going to arrive via helicopter. It's going to be in the middle of Palm Island. It's going to be this tall, just like you talked about. Here's where the helipad's going to be. Look at this model water slide. Look at these 3 pools. The golf course is going to be over here. I'm going to say, I like it. That's it. So let's bring it back to the tech world. I'm going to go meet with a bank, and the bank's going to say, Mike, our systems are overwhelmed. Our trading system can't process the trades as fast as we can. And we feel that if we could process our trades a nanosecond faster than our competition, that would equal an additional $327 million per year for us in terms of net income. I say, great opportunity. And then I will ask them, tell me about your business. How does your trading systems work? How do your traders use the systems? Are you using machine learning? If so, what, how, where, and why? What kind of systems are you using? What kind of networking things are you using? How are your systems arranged to reduce latency? Or do you have multiple racks on the same rack with shorter cables, bigger systems? What kind of storage platforms are we using? Are we using RAID 0 for the hard drives or RAID 10? I mean, our servers have 2 terabytes of DRAM, 4 terabytes of DRAM. What kind of data sets are going to be going in there? How do we process the trades? What needs to talk to what? So that's my requirements gathering. And then when I get back, I'm going to go back to my team and say, uh-oh, I have no idea where to begin. So then I'm going to be going to the CEO of our company that I work for, and I'm going to be saying, Mrs. CEO, I've got an opportunity that's worth about $100 million. I need 3 cloud architects, 2 cloud security architects, 1 IAM architect, 3 network architects, 10 cloud engineers, 3 DevOps engineers, and a couple of SysOps or maintenance people to talk about management of the systems. We're going to get in the same room, and I'm going to build we'll determine the ultimate end state and figure out the technologies that will solve the problems. Then I'm going to build a beautiful document. It's going to have picture after picture after picture. It could be a 200-page document and it will be a 200-page technical document, a 10-page managerial document, and a 2-page executive document. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to book a time with the executive team to present the solution back to them. And I'm going to bring in all the other people that I need to help me present that solution. After I present that solution, I'm going to leave documents for the customer. And then I'm going to be part of the sales team and try and sell it back to them. I'm going to go negotiate the deal. Now, once the job is sold and done, my job is over as a cloud architect. I go to the next customer, meet with the next customer, and try and improve their business with the design. So we don't ever touch the technology with. Think of it as a consultant that comes in, talks to people about their business, and then makes better business recommendations. Think of it that way. That's what we do. That's the design, present, and sell. We never touch the technology. This is why coding is not relevant. This is why engineering experience, when we have an engineer, we've got to completely change our way of thinking, because engineering and architect is 2 different, exactly opposite careers. And that's why it's often hard for engineers to become architects, for these reasons. Because it's a design, present, and sell. We never touch the technology. Now, this is one of the best jobs in the world, but it's a design, present, and sell. It's all about schmoozing. It's all about entertaining clients and taking them to dinner. It's all about taking your clients to golf. It's all about being in meetings and leading meetings and really bringing out the best in others. So this is a job of design, system design, blueprint building, and documentation building. presenting it at conferences, presenting solutions to your executives, writing thought leadership documents for publications. You'll be doing that as an architect constantly. Presenting at executive briefings where you present to the CEO, the CFO, the CTO, the CIO. Working the booth at an industry conference where you're showing off your cool technologies and how it can work. Presentations. And then sales. The reason companies hire us and pay us so much is to convince the customers they need our stuff. So we have to go sell. So think of it this way, 50% business exec, 50% technology professional. Technology professional, and how do you put the pieces and parts together? Not how do you do it? Not a hands-on job. When it's a great question. Hi, Mike. How to move from network engineer to cloud architect or solutions architect? Great question. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, it's about unlearning engineering and learning architect stuff. Wait, unlearning engineering and learning architecture stuff? Yes, that's exactly right. Now, Junior, what I want you to understand is as follows. An engineer is a deep techie. An architect is a business executive that knows technology. So when you are an engineer and you want to become an architect, two things that you have to do. One is learn architecture, and two is convince the world you're not an engineer. So when I moved into from engineering to architecture, I pretended not to know half of the things. I started putting on Armani and Canali suits. I dressed better, walked and talked better, acted like I didn't know how the tech worked, and started building large teams, and poof, I was an architect. Now, that's not the way I recommend this. Really, really, really kind of keep this in the back of your mind. To go from engineer. Now, if you're a network engineer, and I don't know what kind of engineering you're doing, but, let's assume you're network engineering. If your resume says configured BGP, established multi-area OSPF, let's give you some other ones, redistributed EIGRP into OSPF, configured BGP route reflectors, if that's the kind of thing that you're doing, that's hardcore engineering. Now that will not get anybody to see you as an architect. So the first thing you need to do is you need to rebrand yourself, which is translate what you've done to the business impact of what you've done. So for example, I won't say configured BGP, and here's the reason. Nobody cares, that's not what architects do. But I might say, design BGP multi-homing situation to 8 internet service providers. Designed IP addressing plan for the enterprise and its 30,000 remote locations. Design new MPLS traffic engineered backbone, which reduced time to fix failures from 30 seconds to 40 milliseconds. Design new WAN, which improved business performance by this, which increased revenue by XYZ%. So what you need to do is you need to take that hardcore techie network engineering, and that's my background too after I left medicine. My CCIE number is actually 7417, so that's how long I've been in networking. That was the CCIE considered to be the best intro to networking certification in the world. When I did the CCIE, which I would say was my intro to networking, once I finished that, that's where I really got to start working on the network stuff, where I really got to learn. So I love networking. And the networking is the best background to the cloud. And I've taken lots of people that were network architects, trained them for 3-4 months, and poof, the next thing you realize they're senior cloud architects over with AWS. So I've got a lot of experience taking network engineers and architects and making them cloud architects. But it's all about that. So the first thing you need to do is then, poof, realize you've got to deal with it. Now, the good news is, a network engineer, you know half of it already. Assuming you're not the configuring person, you're the designing person. Now, if what you're doing in networking is configuring router OSPF1, network 10.0.0.0, 0.0.0.3, area to 0, that's not networking that's going to give you what you need. But if you are doing the networking where you're designing the OSPF backbone, and you're determining what the IBGP pairing strategy should look like. Are we doing route reflectors, confederations, both? If you're designing the IP addressing plan, now that's real. Now, the next thing we need to understand is we're now going to be dealing with some cloud technologies. But good news, your network and data center technologies. The assumption is you already know the networking things. So what else will you need to learn? You'll need to know the servers and server virtualizations, containers and container orchestration, block storage, object storage, file storage. Load balancers, you may or may not have some background in there. Hardcore networking people don't, but networking people that do a lot of things typically do have some load balancer experience in that. You'll have to get used to all of those things that network architects would do with regards to the system design. You will need to have some experience with industrial applications and how these industrial applications actually can impact business performance. You should have some good knowledge on next generation firewalls, IDS, IPS systems, VPN concentrators, which you may already have, and good knowledge on databases. Now, the next thing, Junior, to remember is going to be as follows. This is not a techie job. Like the network engineer is a very strong techie job. So you must develop your CXO relevancy, meaning knowing what to say to the CEO versus the CFO versus the CTO, because they all care about different things. 2, executive presence. I'll give you examples. BGP is a path vector routing protocol that uses TCP port 179 for network layer reachability information. That will not work. You're going to need to have the presence to be stable to something like BGP is a path vector routing protocol that's used for interdomain routing. BGP is used to exchange network layer reachability information. I said the same thing, but I had presence the second time. Now, Junior, you're going to have to realize you're going to be selling stuff, so you're going to need sales skills. You will be presenting to conferences, so you're going to need really good presentation skills. You're going to be negotiating deals upwards of up to $1 billion, so you're going to need good negotiation skills. You're going to be writing thought leadership documents, so you're going to need exceptional writing skills. You're going to need a lot of business acumen. You're going to have to be able to read a balance sheet, financial statement, etc. So the 2 things that you need to do is pick up those data center technologies, if you don't know them, and focus on the business executive skills, because it's an executive job. Remember, we don't touch the technology here. So it's going to be much more like a network architect or an enterprise architect than a network engineer. So convince the world you're not an engineer, convince the world you're not a techie, convince the world you're a business executive that's really good using tech to solve problems, and then you'll be there. Of course, we could train you and get you to the cloud architect, solution architect role pretty quickly. We're experts at transitioning network engineers. I was a network engineer for a little while, kind of loved it, really did. When I teach networking, I still get some joy in it because it makes me feel like a young person where I did all this networking. And I love networking. It's the best background. In fact, when people say I've been programming, is that going to help me? I usually say no. And they say I come from networking, is going to help me? I'm going to say yes. You're halfway there. You know the networking, now you're just going to learn the data center. Of course, the business components too. Great questions, Junior. Please feel free to ask more. Hey, Mike, what do you need to learn for your upcoming... So Ted Jones, we would tell you don't waste your time on the cloud practitioner exam. In fact, we have a video on all the reasons why you should never do it. There is no point for you to do this cloud practitioner. There's nothing in there that's going to help you in any way, shape, or form, and there's nothing to learn in it. We generally recommend people start with the Certified Solution Architect Associate, which again is too basic anyway. But here's why we don't recommend it. Now, there are times where we do recommend it, and I'll make it clear. If you are part of the developing world, and you're earning like $100 a month, and you have the opportunity to take the cloud practitioner free, under those circumstances, we like people to do the cloud practitioner exam. And once they pass that, they get a 50% voucher to the Certified Solution Architect Professional and go straight from that cloud practitioner to the Certified Solution Architect Professional. Otherwise, we tell everybody to skip this exam. There's no point in it. There's no fundamentals that are taught in it, and there's nothing that will benefit you in any way, shape, or form. So I would tell you to skip it. I would tell you to start with the Certified Solutions Architect Associate. It's got the same content, the same basic intro to junior level content, and it's there. So I'd tell you skip it, and skip it some more. Now, I do know there's some certification providers that are trying to shove this thing down people's throats, and I'm going to tell you why you should not waste your time on it. The average cloud architect earns $600 a day. A good one can easily earn double that or more. So you got to figure every day that you're not working as an architect, you're wasting between $600 and $1,200 a day. If you spend 2 months for this certification, and this certification will offer you zero benefits in any way, you just wasted $25,000 minimum of your earnings by preparing for a useless certification. Now, I know those certification providers want to sell you this useless one and a SysOps one and a DevOps one and a cloud developer one, but it's not going to help you. You need whatever you need in your world. So I like to say this. I don't ever want to see more than 2 certifications on an architect resume and up to 3 on an engineering resume. And Ted, if I do, I won't even interview the person. I get all these people, I'm 6X, 8X, 10X certified, I'd like to be one of your instructors, and I say, I can't hire you. And they say, why? I said, you've spent so much time getting all these certifications in so many different people's careers, you don't know any careers well, and I need somebody that I need as well. So what I would say is don't waste your time with the upcoming cloud practitioner. There's nothing in it. Go straight to the Certified Solution Architect Associate, and you can do our training on our channel completely free for it, along with our free book, and be good to go. But there's nothing that you can learn in your cloud practitioner. There's nothing in it. All it really is the name of some services, and it's trying to prepare you to help you sell things for Amazon. What I would suggest you do is actually learn what you need to be hireable. And what is that? That's going to be dependent upon your career. If your goal is to work as a cloud architect, you need to understand the network and the data center and the cloud. If your goal is to be a cloud engineer, not only do you need to understand the network and the data center and the cloud, but you know how to configure it, how to script it, how to automate it, how to build it, how to code it. And again, none of that stuff covered in any of these AWS certifications either. So the real key is, Ted, why don't you tell me what you would like to do? And if you tell me what you would like to do, I'd love to help you build a plan to get there. But I need to know what you would like to do, because certifications are not the path for any of these good careers. Now, Ted, why are some of us still married to certifications? I'm going to tell you right now. Many years ago, certifications were very valuable. 30 years ago, Ted, when things didn't work and the tech was really complicated, and you had somebody that was certified, that was a good sign. Now, why would certification matter so much? When I did my 2-day Cisco Certified Internet Expert exam, back when it was a 2-day exam and really hard, I had to do a lot of things. There was no preparation materials for me, so I had to read 75,000 pages of reading. And in those days, the exam, which was $1,200, it could take you 6 months to schedule it, and everybody failed it. So the people that actually passed it, it meant a lot, and we were getting hired. Fast forward 15 years. Ted, I could send you to 30 different websites, and you could pass every AWS exam within 2 weeks. 2 weeks like nothing. I could give you an exact copy of the exam, and I get literally bombarded every single day. Would you like to get certified in this? I can offer you a 99.8% guarantee. And if you don't pass, we'll give you your money back. Ted, there are even people that are actually taking exams for people right now, paid people to do it. And because you can literally buy a copy of the exam right now on the internet, and everybody knows it, passing these exams is almost meaningless because everybody's passed it. So what matters instead is your capabilities, your knowledge. So, Ted, tell me the goal career you have. And I'll tell you everything that you need to learn there. But I'm going to promise you this. There is no cloud job that you're going to get by just doing certifications. And there's no value, there's almost no value in the things you're going to learn in these certifications. Because what are they really teaching you? And you said cloud security architect. Okay, very good. Now I'm going to tell you how to get there. So for the cloud security architect, you need to know that it's 2 components, Ted. Component 1 is design, and components 2 or 3 are the presentation and sales skills. So when you're dealing with security, especially a cloud security architect, you need to understand too the network and the data center. To a degree, this means BGP, OSPF, IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting, route aggregation, route summarization. It's going to include NAT, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAD. It's going to include switching, which means VLAN, VLAN tanking, VLAN trunking, spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, these kind of concepts. It's going to include NAT, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAT, port address translation, those kind of things. It involves understanding of DNS, DHCP, ARP, proxy, ARP, etc. Now, Ted, the things that you need to know on the data center side include servers and server virtualization, containers and container orchestration, storage protocols such as block storage, file storage, and object storage, and a lot of work on that object storage, because that's where most systems are actually hacked, is with regards to object storage, are one of the most common places. Now, next, you need to understand load balancers, application load balancers, network load balancers, when to use both of them, for example. Now, when you're done that, it's about business applications, and then it's about databases, and then it's about next generation firewalls. That's the key for you here. VPN concentrators, IDS, IPS systems, and authentication systems. So, Ted, those things, those security systems that I'm talking about, like next generation firewalls, because the stuff they teach you in certifications is the stuff that won't work for cloud security, the stuff that you use in a small environment, but you need to do enterprise security. So now in the cloud security world, you need to really understand encryption and really understand identity and access management platforms like Active Directory, and truly understand firewall architectures. You need one firewall, two layers of firewalls. You're using intrusion detection, intrusion prevention system. What kind of a security policy needs to be written? What kind of training needs to be done to the training staff? What kind of anti-malware systems are going to be used? What do the demilitarized zones need to look like? And again, Ted, none of this stuff is covered in certifications, but you can learn them. You can learn them in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, or you can learn them and read. The information is out there. Next. What we're talking about is the design skills. So you're going to need to learn how to integrate the pieces and parts. Now, Ted, you're going to be selling things, so you need good sales skills. You're going to be presenting, so you need good presentation skills. You're going to be leading a team of 50 people, so you're going to need good leadership skills. You need a lot of executive presence to be able to command the room with the executives. You're going to have enough business acumen to do some ROI modeling. Now, certification-wise, there's 2 certifications that I recommend. Now, Ken, I'm going to say it right now. Certifications will not get you hired. Certifications will not get you hired, and certifications will not get you hired, and certifications will not teach you what you need to know. So why am I going to recommend 2 certifications? Because they will help you get the interview and stand out to get the interview. And then once you get the interview, it's what's in your head that's going to get you hired. We like the 2 certifications. We like one cloud certification, which is the Certified Solution Architect Professional for AWS, or the Azure Solutions Architect Expert. They're one of the 2 that we recommend. Now, for you, on the security certification, we say stay away from all CompTIA certifications. We've not seen them be helpful in people's careers. We like the CISSP. And if you don't have 5 years experience, you can still take the CISSP. It'll be the same exam, and you'll get a title called associate until you have 5 years experience. But there's that. Those 2 certifications create the illusion that you might know something. And then all the training things that I told you to do will give you the knowledge, meaning you will know something. And that's how you get hired. So certifications don't teach us anything, but they help us get an interview. So that's the only point. We're just doing the minimum level of certifications to get that interview. And then we're focusing on us, Ted, and how we can make the business better. And that's what we're actually doing when it comes down to it. Making lives better, improving business performance by utilizing technology for competitive advantage. Those are the things that you need to know, Ted, and that's how you're going to get hired. Great question, Ted. And Chris, we can bring in one of the other ones. One Tech. Can we get a job having 2 years of experience? One Tech, you don't need any experience to get a job if you have the right skills. One Tech. Jeffrey had no tech experience, and he's now working as a cloud architect. Daniel's last job was selling shoes, and he's now working as a cloud architect for JP Morgan Chase. Yvonne was working for AWS, and his last job was serving food. Jermaine was a landscaper that was our student that is now working as a cloud architect for Capgemini. Balwinder was working as a customer service rep who's now working for Microsoft. I could go on and on and on and on, One Tech. Experience does not get you hired. Competency gets you hired. The ability to do the job. I can give you example after example after example after example of people that have gotten great jobs, architect jobs, senior engineering jobs with zero tech experience whatsoever. I did. I'm personally one of them. I went straight from internal medicine to senior network engineer. That was my first job. So of course you can get a job. But I'm going to tell you right now, if your study plan is certifications, then no. But if you've got the right skills, of course you can. I can give you person after person after person that has zero experience that gets hired, that have gotten hired. 2 years, that's like incredible. That's nothing to get somebody hired if they've got the right skills. But here's the thing, one tech. I can interview somebody with 25 years experience that was bad when they started and are even worse today. I'm not hiring that person. I don't care about their experience. So one tech, what do hiring managers actually care about? They don't care about how long you've been doing something. HR does, but not hiring managers. Hiring managers care, can you do the job? And I speak to hiring managers every single day. A couple of days ago, I spoke to someone, and it was a conversation with a friend, and she laughed and she said this. I said, could you tell me what you want an employee? And she says, Mike, just give me somebody that can do the job that I can tolerate. I said, say this again. She says, you know what it's like. You interview 10,000 people and you got to find a single person. And when you finally find somebody, you have a bad attitude. And I can't hire them with a bad attitude. And I said, I get it. But there's still good people out there. Now, when I ask people what they want, they don't say experience. HR does. But real people don't say experience. They say, I want someone that can do the job. I want someone that I can trust. I want someone that doesn't make mistakes because they know what they know and know what they don't know. I know someone that's got some energy, enthusiasm, and passion. I want someone that's willing to go above and beyond. And I want a team player. That's what employers want. Experience is irrelevant nonsense. Experience is a measure. Now, here's where people like experience. If I interview someone, I'm going to be able to determine if they're competent. If HR interviews someone, they have no idea because they're not tech people. So how does an HR check your competency? They don't. They assume that if you've been doing something for a while, you may know it. Dangerous assumption. I know doctors with 50 years experience that kill people every single day because they're so bad at it. And I know doctors that are in medical school that are great with zero experience. I don't want the person with 50 years experience that's an assassin, not a doctor, taking care of me. I want the doctor taking care of me, the good one, the healer, and I don't care how experienced they are. Now, HR does not know how to check your competency, and that's why HR says we would like 50 years experience, 27 Olympic gold medals, knowledge in this. And then here's what happens, one tech. HR pushes these people to us hiring managers, and we interview them, and we ask them about the job. They have no idea. Now they know everybody else's career, but not our job. And then what do we do every single time? We say, I can't deal with any of this nonsense. We then call our favorite tech recruiters. We tell them exactly what they want. And then the tech recruiters say, I'll call you back with somebody. They send us people that meet our desires. We interview the employee. We make them an offer, and then we make them fill out a job application after we've determined we're going to hire them. We tell HR we're hiring them, and we even tell HR how much we're going to pay them. So of course you can get a job having 2 years experience. You could get a job having zero experience. It's competency that matters, not experience. It's competency. And I get students hired every single day with no experience. Every single day. And you can watch any of the videos you want, whether it be Delroy Bat, whether it be Coyote, whether it be Jermaine, whether it be Romanik Ivan Tamba, whether it be Jeffrey West, who was doing geology, whether it be Balwinder, whether it be Jessica, who was a mental health tech, every single day. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Here's what come back when you have more experience means. It means you didn't impress them. So all hiring managers are trained in this. When we interview things, and you're so far from off, I'll get to your comment next. You're so far from off, but when we interview people, and they can do the job, we interview them. And when they can't do the job, here's what we tell them. I'm sorry, you don't have experience. Now, I don't interview anyone ever that I'm not willing to hire. Neither will any hiring manager. When we interview someone and it doesn't work out well then, I'm going to tell you right now, we tell them they need more experience. So it has nothing to do with experience. I get people hired every single day with zero experience. You can see many of their stories there. Chris, we can move on to the next one. Gee, it's exactly what's happening at work these days. You're not required to know everything. My students don't know how to code. My students generally don't configure, and they get hired every single day. And gee, not a single day goes by where one of my students doesn't get hired. And my students know exactly architecture. Now, gee, I'm going to tell you this. I've out-earned the majority of architects by 200 to 300% in my career. And here's why. Everybody I knew was focused on learning everything. And I only learned one thing. How to be great. Now, gee, I did work for one employer many, many years ago that wanted me to learn many things. In fact, it was a very weird situation, gee. I was working as a network architect on Wall Street. And I had some ridiculous manager who became the CIO. And he says to me, Mike, you need to learn how to write a Python, not a Python, an expect script. You need to be able to write a bash script. I can't just have network architects that only do architecture. And I said to this guy, I said, are you sure you want me to leave and go learn a job of someone that earns a third of me? You want me spending my time on this when I'm your most expensive employee? And he says, yes, Mike. And he sent me to Sun Microsystems. Now, when I went to Sun Microsystems, they had an outage which cost the company almost $20-some million. And when I got back, I was hugged by the team, thank God you're here, and told we will never do this. Now, the CIO got fired, and he's had a junior management consulting job ever since. If you're at an employer that wants you to do everything, change employers. But it's also up to you and your career management. In every job, you have the opportunity to do lots of things. When your employer asks you to do things, say no. Show them what you're good at. Show them their skills and show them how you can help them. I get people every single day hired, and they don't know other people's jobs. In fact, gee, I had a really good student. He was Indian. I think he went to IIT. He was brilliant. He went on interview after interview after interview, and he said, Mike, everybody asked me about my coding and configuring and DevOps and SysOps, and nobody's hired me. And I said, can I see your resume? And he said, of course, Mike. And I looked at his resume, and I said, what is this? You got programming here. You got Python here. You got this DevOps here. You got this silly SysOps certification. He said, yeah, I worked real hard for him. And I said, do you want to get hired, or are you impressed about your knowledge on everything other than the main job? He says, I want to get hired, Mike. And here's what we did. We then removed the SysOps, the DevOps, the this, the this, the this, the this, the this. We got rid of it all. A week later, he had a job. Told me it was more than he ever earned and about 250% more than any other job that ever paid him in his life. We do this every day, G. We constantly remove all the extraneous stuff to get our people hired, and our people get hired every single day. There's not a day that I don't have somebody that gets hired. So clearly they're getting hired without knowing everything. But I'll tell you this, G, you've got a choice. You can be a jack of all trades and a master of none. And some people do that, and I promise you your income will always be low because you won't be able to do anything well. Or you can focus on being the best at something. Now that's up to you. That's up to you. Now I'll tell you, I came from a generalist world. I used to practice internal medicine. Won't do that again. Internal medicine is a generalist role. A little this, a little this, a little this. You want a secret? The average internal medicine doctor spends $250,000 in education, 7 to 10 years of their life, and earns $200,000 a year, working 16-hour days. Now, I know a guy who is an expert on knees. He's an orthopedic surgeon. All he does is knees, nothing else. He charges $20,000 cash per knee, and he does 5 knees per day and makes $500,000 a week, $2 million a month, or $24 million a year, working 6 hours a day. So, $100,000 a day, $200,000 a year, generalist versus specialist. I know people that just do BGP that earn $500,000 a year and know nothing else, just BGP. And I know enterprise architects earning $500,000 a year too. And trust me, I get these job offers every day. And you know why? I only know my job. Only know my job. I don't know anybody else's job. Ask me to code, doesn't work. See, I have to ask my team how to use Zoom every single day. And Chris is back there. Chris, could you set up this Zoom meeting? I don't even know how it works. All I know is architecture, 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 and getting people hired and performing them. That's it. That's why I'm a specialist. And I'm telling you right now, I could easily get specialist jobs. Who are the hardest people for me to get hired? Jack of all trades and masters of none. Masters of none. So it's up to you. You've got a choice. I'm telling you what we see. I'm telling you with my students that are getting hired. I'll also tell you that my average student earns between $120 and $275 per year, and these are the ranges that our students are getting hired at every single day. I'd say the average is around $160. And I'm telling you right now, none of my students know anything other than the main job as an architect. But when my students, in fact, one day we even had a director at AWS attend our class. And he came to our class, it was last June, I think it was last June 18th or June 8th. And when he got on the class and he spoke to my students, he says, I want to let you know how lucky you are. He says, every day we try to interview people. And here's what they know. A little about a lot of things, but no substance. They said the Go Cloud Careers program, the reason we love people and want to recruit directly out of it is as follows. Not only do they teach you how to be an architect and make you a great architect, but they focus on the leadership skills, the sales skills, the executive presence, the communication skills, emotional intelligence, all the things that we need in an architect. In fact, I had another architect that got hired last week as an enterprise architect. I'm actually meeting with the CEO of the business that he turned down one of their jobs because they wanted to meet with me and my team because they said, finally, someone that's creating architects. We're so tired of techies coming in here trying to say about their coding and their Python and their DevOps when I want somebody that can design, present, and sell. So thank you. I need to talk to you to hire more people. See, we have no problem whatsoever getting people hired jobs for specialists. But I'll never be able to get hired a jack of all trades unless they've got 10 years experience. And we get people hired with zero experience. So it's up to you. You got a choice. You can become a very highly paid expert by becoming an expert at what you do and becoming an expert architect, or you can spread yourself thin, learn a little bit about everything, not have any great knowledge about anything, and you be down here. But it's up to you. I'm just telling you what we do. It's what our experience is. We don't look at job descriptions. We know they're completely irrelevant. See, I've never been on a job interview for which I didn't get hired, and I've never had more than 10% of the skills listed on a what do you call it, a job description for any of the jobs that I've ever been on. I'll tell you, my average student gets hired regardless of what's on the job description. And they're getting hired in the US, they're getting hired in the UK, they're getting hired in India, they're getting hired in Australia, they're getting hired in New Zealand, they're getting hired in Germany, they're getting hired in South America, they're getting hired in Europe, they're getting hired everywhere doing it this way because we can't know everything. And the second you try, you effectively know zero about everything else. That's why you can't be good at more than one thing. That's why Olympians only train for their sport and not somebody else's. That's why winners train to win. They win by mastering their game and letting everybody else play their own games. It's a different game. But it's your choice how you manage your career. I'm just telling you how to earn more, how to get hired more, how to get paid more, how to get a faster career. And that's why, after 6 months, my career progressed more than people that had 10 or 15 years experience. And so have my students. How you do it is up to you, though. You gotta be the master of your own desire. So thank you for participating. Chris, bring in the next one. When does it take longer to become a specialist, network security specialist, compared to become a general one? Not really. So I've done both. I want you to think about it, Win. To be a generalist, you need to know a lot about a lot of different things. To be a specialist, you need a whole lot about a little bit. Generally speaking, it's easier to become a specialist in one thing than it is to become a generalist because there's a lot less to learn. Now, the question is, what do you want to do? Now, I will tell you this. As a rule, there's going to be more job opportunities for a generic cloud architect than a security specialist or a network specialist. But as a rule, you'll earn more as a security specialist or a network specialist because you have a specialized skill. As a rule, you will have faster career progression as a specialist because you're a rarer commodity. So as a rule, as a specialist, you'll earn more and you'll have better career progression. Now, what about the generic cloud architect? You've got a couple ways you could take this career. If you try to spend yourself thin as a techie one, as a cloud architect, what you're going to find is then, this is going to be a low-paying career as a generic cloud architect. By comparison with, if you focus on digital transformation as a generic cloud architect, and leadership skills, and executive communication skills, and business acumen, executive presence, presentation skills, negotiation skills, and sales skills. Now you're not just a generic cloud architect. Now you're a digital transformation expert, and that will pay you double any of the other specialty things. So when it comes to building your technology career and architecture career, you've got a couple of paths. Path one, pick a tech specialty. Generally speaking, more money over a genericist and generic person and more opportunities. Right? Less opportunities, but more money and greater promotions. So there's that. So that's next. So the next thing that we're talking about is the industry vertical specialty. Now that's your next place up. So if you worked in transportation like an airline pilot, perhaps you knew about the transportation industry and you could be a cloud architect in transportation. Or perhaps you practiced medicine like me. So therefore, I worked as a healthcare architect. Obviously, I'm much more credible. I've got a lot more business acumen, a lot more industry acumen, much more opportunities. And then when, like my manager told me 20 years ago, he dragged me in a room and he said, Mike, it was 20 some years ago. And he says, Mike, do you know the difference between a $150,000 sales engineer like you are now and a $300,000 enterprise architect or a $250,000 distinguished engineer? Do you want to know the difference? And I said, tell me. And he said, Mike, stop learning tech. He said, the tech, you've done it, you've matched it. There's no benefit for you anymore. He said, increase the impact you can make to your customers. Increase your ability to sell, influence, manage and lead large teams. Increase your executive presence, your CXO relevancy, so you know what to say to the CEO, CFO, CTO. Improve your ability to negotiate, and you will be that expensive employee. Well, a year later, I was. Now, granted, it was about $250,000 educational, and I'll learn those skills. But the point is, which I teach to my students at a very low cost. But there's that. So the key is, where do you want your career to go? Do you want to be an expert on the transformation side? Learn the business piece. Do you want to become an expert on an industry? Great. Or do you want to become an expert on the tech? You can manage your career any way you want, and they're all great options. All great options. The key is, what would you like to do? That's really the key. What would you like to do? That will give you everything you need to know. So, what's going to make you happy when is the bigger question. Ted Jones, what are the requirements to become an enterprise architect? More certifications. Ted, maybe I wasn't clear. Certifications will never get you an architect job ever. Certifications are almost meaningless to high people that hire architects. What gets you enterprise architect jobs is business acumen, executive communication skills, leadership skills, executive presence, high levels of emotional intelligence, large amounts of business acumen, and knowledge of the applications that make a business better. Ted Jones, an enterprise architect, is 80% executive and 20% tech. Remember, we architects never touch the tech ever. So a certification might make you look less like an enterprise architect. Now an MBA makes you look more like an enterprise architect. That's the key. We need to understand architect roles are not engineering roles. When you get more and more certifications, you look like an engineer and you look less like an architect. So business acumen, leadership skills, sales skills, executive presence, emotional intelligence, ROI modeling. These are the skills, business acumen. When you read a financial statement, what's it telling you? When you read a balance sheet, what's it telling you? How can you influence a client's revenue? How can you reduce error defects in manufacturing? How can you tune the supply chain? What applications will improve that business's performance? What can we do to make employee productivity better, Ted Jones? What processes and workflows can we change? That's the enterprise architect job. These jobs are not about paper certifications. Paper certifications in my mind are just here. Click, 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 I passed the test, now what? Now they will help you get an interview, but they won't get you hired. Now when you're dealing with enterprise architects, and Ted, when I started my career 20 years ago, and I was a hardcore engineer, I mean, really capable, and I was talking to these enterprise architects, I'm like, why don't they understand any tech? Why are they such lightweights? Ted, I think you need to understand the focus. And maybe if you understand the focus of the engineer versus the architect, it'll make this clear. The focus of an engineer is, how do I work with the tech? How do I build the tech? How do I make the tech work? That's an engineer. An architect's focus is, how can I make the business better? How do I improve the business versus how do I do the tech? Engineering is about the tech. Architecture is about the business. So how do you become an enterprise architect? You get more business, less tech. Now, generally speaking, work as a solution architect for a year or two. While you're a solution architect, focus business, 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 business. So let's look at the architect continuum. At the bottom, we've got the cloud engineer, which is the most deeply technical person, not an architect. Now, when we like a cloud engineer a lot, we want to pay them a little more, we often give them the title called technical architect, which is an engineer, which is the lowest paid of all the architects by far. And it's really an engineer with an architect title. Now, the technical architect's 80% tech, 20% business. When we get to the solution architect and the cloud architect, which are next on the architect paying scale, meaning they pay more, we're now dealing with a 50% executive and a 50% technology professional, half and half. As we move into the enterprise architect world, we become 80+% business and 20% tech. And as we move up from the enterprise architect world, we become business architects, which is like what I am, which is more of a management consultant. I've done a lot of this as well, where we do things to tune and optimize the business's performance. Again, all kinds of great stuff. So how do you become an enterprise architect? Business, 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 and more business. Executive positions. An enterprise architect is director or VP level position, and you've got to be a director or VP for any of these architect roles. Ted Jones, thanks, Mike. You're aiming for cloud security architect role. I think it's a great job, and I encourage you to do it. I think you will love it. I've gotten a lot of people cloud security architect jobs this year in our program, and I think you will love it. To your early question about prodding and coding, can I talk about the job descriptions and requirements? That's the point. I discuss this every day. Job descriptions are silly, irrelevant, and don't worry about them. I've never had more than 10% of the things on a job description for jobs that I've been hired for, and I've never gone in an interview for which I wasn't hired, ever. My students only have 10 to 15% of the things on a job description, and they get hired every day. So we need to talk about a hiring manager's job description and a nonsense HR job description, and where these job descriptions come from. So that's the point. If I need to hire an architect, here's what I'm going to do. If I'm told I need to write a job description, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't write job descriptions. I got real things to do in my life, and job descriptions are a waste of my time. So here's how most hiring managers write a job description. We go to Indeed, we go to ZipRecruiter, we go to Dice, we go to any one of the job boards. We look at a cloud architect job description, and then we say, this one's 10 pages long, this must be good, right? So we take the longest, most stupidest job description we can find, and we look at it and say, none of our things are there. And we add our stuff, and we cut and paste it. And I see cut and paste job descriptions every single day that have even other people's stuff. I pop it up there. That's my job description. It's now 40 pages long, and it lists everything. That's not what I want. Now, the second reason we have stupid job descriptions is as follows. HR writes them. Now, why would HR write them? Did you know that you got 5,000 applications in general for every single open position? And a company like Amazon has 25,000 open positions and gets 5,000 resumes for each one. Now, we need to remember HR doesn't know if you're a good doctor, a good lawyer, or a good cloud architect because they don't have these jobs. Their goal is to find people that fit into a culture. So HR writes these stupid job descriptions, which include 50 Olympic gold medals, 1,000 years experience, and all these things. And here's what happens. That's the point. Then these people come to us, we hiring managers, and we don't hire any of them because they know everybody else's job other than ours. And we always go call our favorite recruiter. I get on the phone almost constantly. I get on the phone with Christina Marino at IT Excel. She's one of the best recruiters I've ever met. Her and Steve Harkrillian, they're incredible. I know a lot of good recruiters, but they're fantastic. And I call them and I get on the phone and I say, Christina, I need a cloud architect that knows how to design, present, and sell. I need someone with emotional intelligence, business acumen, and leadership. And she calls me back 24 hours later and says, Mike, I got somebody great for you. I got this guy, Anthony, and he's really terrific. And I say, great. And I interview Anthony. And when I interview Anthony, I like the guy. I love the guy. And I hire the guy. I then call HR and say, look, I'm hiring Anthony G. And when I hire Anthony G, I want to pay him 1.6 times the average cloud architect because of his business acumen and his communication skills. It's called the comp ratio. And 2 weeks later, Anthony G gets hired. And he's now working for me. And a year later, he's going to get auto-rejected from HR after I promoted him because HR's job description and hiring processes are along the way. I don't care what's in a job description. It's irrelevant to me. In fact, these job descriptions are so out there and so silly and irrelevant that not only did me and my architect buddies use it as an excuse and a drinking game, and I don't drink a lot. Like I have 3 or 4 drinks a year. And usually when it is, it's a really good scotch, like a Macallan 25. And my buddy architects and I, we would get together every 3 months on either Zoom or WebEx, and we would literally speaking, we would just go over job descriptions and laugh hysterically because no architect does this. Now that's the point. It got so bad that Gartner decided to start asking customers, what do you want in a cloud architect? Because we know your job descriptions are completely irrelevant. And here's what they did. They interviewed the chief information officers of all these tech companies. Now, who makes the hiring decisions for the tech? The CIO. So here we got this great, exciting information. The certification providers don't want you to see this because they want to sell you garbage and everybody else's thing, but I want you to see this, and I want you to see the actual article so you don't waste your time doing irrelevant certifications and you focus your time on the things that matter. So Gartner, and if you guys don't know Gartner because you're new to tech, want to know the best cloud? Ask Gartner. Most innovative firewall? Ask Gartner. Most improved router? Ask Gartner. Industry hiring trends? Ask Gartner. So Gartner started asking the chief information officers, what do you want? And they published it here. And they said, we would like a cloud architect that can lead the cultural change for cloud adoption, develop and coordinate a cloud architecture, and develop a cloud strategy and coordinate the adoption process. And they said, what do you want your cloud architects to do every day? And they said, find talent with the necessary skills, assess application software and hardware, create a cloud broker team, establish best practices for cloud across the company, selecting cloud providers and vetting third-party services, overseeing governance and mitigating risk, working with the IT security people to develop, monitor privacy and develop incident response procedures, manage budgets and estimate costs, and operate at scale. Wait, did you hear any coding? Did you hear any configuring? Did you hear any tech anything? No, not really, because it's not the job. So I don't worry about those kind of things. Do you want to know exactly how unplugged HR is from the hiring process? I've only interviewed with 5 companies. I've never had more than 10% of the things on a job description. Well, 15% with one company, but they were 10% everywhere else. After I've been hired and promoted, I've been auto-rejected by HR by 3 of the 5 jobs I've ever taken. And so there's that. So 3 of the 5 jobs I've ever taken. So keep that in the back of your mind. I don't worry about job descriptions. All I care is getting hired. And like I said, I get people hired every single day with 0 background, 0 experience because they're great. And it's near impossible to find somebody that's great. So I don't worry about the job description. I worry about what the job is. That's really what matters. And when I said HR doesn't know, I'll give you a perfect example. So about 15 years ago, I went on an interview. It was interviewing with two companies. One I accepted, one I did not. On this interview, HR had a silly quest. They were giving me a tech screener interview. And I had spoken to the manager first and spoken to somebody else. And for some reason, they had this HR interview. And I don't know what it was. So HR interviews me, which was the first time I've ever spoken to HR in my life, because they've always been told I was getting hired. But anyway, HR interviews me. And they asked me 10 networking questions. Question 1 was nothing. Question 2 was nothing. Question 3, I answered all. And they got to question 10. And it was this basic question. And the HR person says, I need to know, what is the multicast address of an OSPF hello? And I said, which multicast address are you looking for? Are you looking for the 224.0.0.5, which is all SPF routers? Or are you looking for 224.0.0.6, which is all DR other routers? Because OSPF uses 2 multicast addresses. And then here's what interestingly happened. Then, a few minutes later, she says, I need the 1. I said, but there's 2. And you're giving me a trick question, and I don't know which one you want. And she says to me, Mike, I need an answer. And I said, that's the point. I can't answer your question because you're not giving me something. I can guess that you want 224.0.0.5, which is going to be incorrect. It's going to be the most common address, but it's going to be incorrect. And then I heard this instant messaging client in the background. And she was giggling. And she says, excuse me, I'm messaging one of the distinguished engineers. I said, good. And I said, would you do me a favor? Now, I knew I wasn't going to take the job. I said, I would like you to ask the distinguished engineer, what is the multicast address for OSPF? Are there 1 address or are there 2 addresses? Because there's 224.0.0.5 and 224.0.0.6. She looked at me and I said, trust me. I was convincing enough. She sends a message to the distinguished engineer. She gets a response back in 3 seconds and she starts laughing and she says, I'm told I have to offer you a job right now. That it's embarrassing that we've hired 300 people that didn't know that, and you're the first person that did. So I'm told that we need to stop this hiring process and hire you right now. Would you like to work for me? And I said, no, thank you. And she said, why? I said, because you're using HR in the middle of me getting to the hiring manager. And as you can see, this process is concerning me, so I don't think this is the right place for me. Became friends with them. They offered me a job again a year later. I chose not to do it. I went to a company that I really love. But that's the play. HR is not technology professionals. So they need to put up roadblocks to keep you from applying and hoping that by putting up roadblocks, they're going to find somebody competent. But experience and competency are not the same thing. They're two totally different things. Giovanni Gonzalez, I've been watching all your videos for a long time right now. You've gotten your CompTIA Network Plus and a CCNP. Am I a good fit for a cloud network security architect? Giovanni, you mentioned certifications. Those certifications have absolutely zero to do with what we do as an architect. What we have to do as an architect is design, present, and sell. So what have you been doing in the design, presenting, and selling place? That will be the determination. Do you know how to architect next generation firewalls? Do you know how to architect VPN concentrators, IDS, IPS systems? Are you prepared to write a security policy for the organization? Do you know how to design the end-to-end security? Do you understand the kind of authentication systems and authorization and accounting systems that could be used? Do you know how to determine the encryption scheme? Do you know how to harden systems? Do you know how to convince the customer to go buy your $10 million security solution? Have you been presenting at conferences? Do you know how to sell? Have you been leading large teams? Do you know how to lead large teams? Are you CXO relevant? Do you know what to say to the CEO versus the CTO versus the CFO? Do you know how to deal with a visual leader versus a kinesthetic leader versus an auditory leader? Do you know how to deal with a functional personality type versus an intuitive personality type versus an analytical personality type? Because you need that with the executive. Those are architect skills. Now, if all you're telling me is you have a CCIE and a CISSP, that's not enough for any architect job. Now, if you're telling me you have system design skills, then you could be a great fit. So if you want to tell me what your career is and what skills you actually have, but no, certifications don't get anybody a job ever. So the key is telling me you've got past the certification is like saying, yeah, okay, but that doesn't mean anything to me. What means to me is what is your actual knowledge? Now, the CompTIA Network Plus, you're generally going to have to remove from an architect certification because they don't want to see that. The CCNP is a good one, but you can be a CCNP that knows 0, or you can be a CCNP that knows 10 times more than a CCIE. That's the question. I know people that have earned $500,000 a year as network engineers with 0 certifications. And I know CCIEs that have cheated their way through it that don't know anything. So the key is, what do you know? But we need to know more than just certifications. So tell me what you do know, and I can give you an answer. But certifications, they're just certifications. Recruiters in India need to learn a lot from you, Mike. Cloud architect, we've had some recent hires in India, and they hired our students exactly the way we trained for them. Now, in India, there is a bias towards engineering by far over architect work. There is a strong bias towards engineering. But I've got friends working as architects in India, and they're doing architect work, not engineering work. But India does seem to be a little obsessed with engineering, at least in a lot of the discussions I have with a lot of the businesses over there. But here's the problem. You can't be an engineer and an architect at the same time. You can't fly an airplane and keep people safely in their seats. And what happens is, when we try, we ultimately become engineers. And when we become engineers, we miss the big picture. And cloud architect, that's the real issue here. If you go out tonight and look at the sun, moon, you look at the stars, and you see the constellations and the moon and things, you can see that whole sky. And as an architect or a cloud architect, that needs to be your focus, the whole sky. Now, as an engineer, you need to be zoomed in and focused on the one thing that you're working at. So the cloud engineer, for example, would take a telescope and zoom in at 200x on the moon. Now, what's that cloud engineer going to see? A percentage of the moon. Craters, maybe man on the moon, woman on the moon, maybe the moon's filled with cheese, maybe cookie monsters over there eating cookies. I don't know. I haven't been to the moon. But the point is, when you're looking at the moon, you can't see the sky. And the architect needs to see everything. And the engineer needs to focus on the one thing. So you can't be both. I will tell you, I almost got fired as an architect early in my career because it was this really cool, juicy network architecture. And there was this exciting little BGP thing in there. And I wanted to go do it because I had a lot more background than anybody else on the team. So I was going to be the BGP guy. And I did. I focused on the BGP. I lost sight of the big picture and I almost got fired. That's the key. The key is, it's about really mastering your career. It's the best career. I don't think there's anything better than being an architect. Engineering careers are great too if you like them. I enjoy being an architect. I've got friends that love engineering. They're both great careers, but you can't do both at the same time. You just can't be working as a doctor and a lawyer at the same time. You can't be flying an airplane and handing out drinks at the same time. It's all about being, really good. Can anyone switch from a U.S. architect to solution architect? Shoot beast. I've gotten so this year and very recently, I got someone that was selling shoes, a solution architect job. Someone that was serving food, a solution architect job. Someone that was a customer service rep, a solution architect job. Someone that was selling landscaping gear, a solution architect job. Someone that was a geologist, a solution architect job. An EMT working on ambulances, a solution architect job. A mental health tech, a solution architect job. A stay-at-home mom, a solution architect job. So, yeah, why not? These are people that don't even work in tech. The fact that you have a tech background, that's even better. Of course you can. There's not a single person that, without the right training, can't become a solution architect. And it can be your first job. Now, granted, if your plan is certification, it'll take you years to get there. But if you train right, my student's first job is a solution architect job. We've gotten well over 100 people hired in the last 12 months. And guess what? Most of them never worked in tech in their life. I say half and half didn't. So of course you can, but you can't do it via certification. You have to do it via the right training. Doctors get their first tech job, and it's not like they work as nurses first, and then physical therapists, and then pharmacists. They become doctors. Lawyer's first job is a lawyer. And my student's first job is as a solution architect. It happens every day to one of my students. I could give you example after example. I've even had a student that didn't graduate high school get hired as a cloud architect this year. Now, granted, He was incredibly competent. He was also 20 years old at the time, but incredibly competent. But I've got people from every walk of life, of every age group, in everywhere. Whether it was Ian that was telling me about the new Audi that was in England that was just delivered to his house just a couple of days ago, who just got married, to Yunmag in India, to, I could go on and on and on and on. I think Arun was working at Home Depot in his last job, and he's now working as a cloud architect. But the point is, I can give you example after example after example. Of course you can, but you need the right training. And the real key is understanding that the architect world, the solution architect, is a business executive. That's why people don't get here. They study the tech. They study engineering and want to be an architect. Not the same. Engineer, deep technology professional. Architect, executive that knows technology. Very different skills. You've got to have the right skills. But of course you can. Of course you can, and of course you can. Just do the right work, get the right training, and you'll be cloud hired soon. While we're at it, tomorrow I'm going to have a really big special, how to get your first cloud job webinar. Please join us and you'll know exactly what you need to learn to get cloud hired. Cigar, how many years does it take to be a cloud architect? Well, it takes our average student about 8 months to 10 months to get their first cloud architect job, regardless of where they come from. So Cigar, there's two approaches to becoming a cloud architect. There's our approach and there's everybody else's approach. Our approach is quite simply, we will train you to be a cloud architect. We will make you a great cloud architect. And when you're done, you'll be working as a cloud architect in about 8 to 12 months. Again, I can give you any number of students you want that have never worked in tech, that have served food at restaurants, that have been selling shoes, working on ambulances, doing mental health work, doing geology work, stay-at-home moms, landscapers, and they're all working as cloud architects directly out of our program. I even had a student the other day that not only got hired, that they actually paid him 20% more than the highest pay on the job because they loved him so much. And he's 21 years old. You haven't seen him yet. You saw other people. But I've got people that are 50 getting hired, and I've got people that are 20 and 60. It doesn't matter. Now, that's our training. Train you for the job, and you'll get it. Now, there are other people that think that you're just going to get a million certifications, and then you're going to become a cloud admin. You're going to waste your time doing that for 5 years, earning $100,000 a year less than you could as a cloud architect. So there you go. You lost $500,000 minimum. And then they're going to say, well, I'll work as a cloud engineer for a couple of years. How's that plan? And then again, we'll earn another $50,000 less than they would as an architect for the next 2 years. Now they're down $600,000. And then they finally get their junior level cloud architect job because they tried to do the certification route and learn on the job. They may get it, they may never get it. And there's that. Or you could start out as a cloud architect, advance in your career about 10 years before people. Be earning $300,000 and $400,000 a year 10 years into your career, where the other people are just breaking into that $150,000, $175,000 range because they're trying to do it the hard way and learn on the job. So it takes us about a year to create a cloud architect or less, assuming no one has the background. No, buying my course alone is not going to get you hired. Taking our course and doing all the work in the course will get you hired. And that's the biggest thing, is you need to do the work. But that's about how long it takes. Exactly. And you'll be there. So for us, I'd say typically speaking, less than a year from the time we touch somebody to the time they work as a cloud architect, regardless of their background. Bara, hello, Mike. I'm interested in becoming an expert in cloud solutions architect. Do you have a concern? Your degree program is data analysis. So Bara, it has no relevance what your degree is in. My degrees are in both medicine and business. Daniel Bosu didn't graduate high school and he's working. Delroy Batt has an associate degree and he got hired. Jessica has a psychology degree and she got hired. Jermaine, who's a landscaper who recently got hired and doesn't have a college degree at all. Jeffrey's degree was in geology. I don't remember what Balwinder's degree was, but she's been doing customer service for the last couple of years. Arun, I don't think, had a degree at all. It doesn't matter what your degrees are, and I think it matters what you need to learn. How do you go about everything? You have to learn how to become a cloud architect. It's not going to be taught to you in school. You could take our cloud architect career development program and you'll become a cloud architect. But you have to understand the architect is in a business executive role. So the things that you're going to need to learn are networking and data center things, such as BGP, OSPF, IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting, route summarization, route aggregation, NAT, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAT, WAN technologies, SSL VPNs, IPsec-based tunnels, software-defined networking, SASE, Ethernet over MPLS, private lines, DNS, DHCP, ARP, proxy ARP, servers and server virtualizations, containers and container orchestration, block storage, file storage, object storage, load balancers, business applications like ERP systems, CRM systems, unified communication systems, firewalls, VPN concentrators, IDS, IPS systems, ROI modeling, leadership skills, sales skills, presentation skills, executive presence skills, CXO relevancy skills. They are the training that are there. You could take our training and you'll be working as a cloud architect upon graduation. Because graduation for us is when you get hired. If you'd like to know a lot more, you can take our How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar tomorrow. It's going to be completely free. We will detail the step by step, everything you need to know to get that first cloud architect job, and you're going to love it. We could take our course and get hired like the rest of my students, and right now with 30% off with my birthday discount, the course that cost is about a single day's pay for the average graduate. Up to you. I just want to get you hired. And we'll cover that extensively tomorrow. Hi, Theory. How are you? People are all excited about getting a job, but how can we keep the job? It's very easy. Do a good job. I mean, if you actually do the job, have a good attitude, energy, experience, have a good degree of authenticity and personal responsibility, you're going to keep the job. It's just that. Who gets laid off, as a rule? People that can't do the job, unmotivated people, or people with a bad attitude. So Theory, show the world how good you are. Show them your energy, your enthusiasm, your passion. Show them your willingness to work, your willingness to go above and beyond, and your willingness to be the best. When companies do layoffs, you'll be getting promoted. You'll be in great shape. Don't worry about keeping the job. Worry about being great at the job. And that's the key. Just worry about being great in everything you do, and then you won't have to worry about keeping any job. You don't have to worry about keeping any job. Philip, thanks, Mike, for these sessions. Philip, you are so welcome, and I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for answering our videos of gold. Thank you so much. We work so hard to create content to truly help the community. Yeah, Philip, we'd love to see you as a cloud architect. Great job. You'll love it. Hey, Jenny, it's so good to see you. Is software development internship useful for a cloud architect? Ooh. So I like to say that life, all experience is good. Now, if you told me you were working as a customer service rep and speaking to people, I would tell you that's probably better experience than software development. If you're delivering presentation skills or management consulting, I would say that's probably better skills. But having said that, if you understand what software developers do, that's a good thing and it's not going to hurt you. So it's advantageous as long as you remember this. Now remember, user 1, 2, 3, we don't code. We don't develop software as architects. We design, present, and sell. So no, this is not necessarily valuable for us. Now, if your internship was as a network architect, yeah, that'd be useful. If your internship was as a network engineer, yeah, that'd be useful. If your internship was a data center engineer and you were working with virtual machines and containers and firewalls and load balancers, yeah, that would be valuable. Software engineering, not really. But here's the thing. It looks like good tech stuff, right? So you pop it on your resume and it looks good. Now, here's the thing. If you want to be an architect, you have to know not to think like a software developer. Because you can't be thinking in terms of coding. You've got to be thinking on the end-to-end solution. So if you use it to get background knowledge, that's fine. It'll give you some background knowledge in talking to developers, which you'll be doing in your career. But realize, architect, design, present, and sell. No code, ever. So it's really learning the skills of somebody else's job. But every job is some degree transferable to someone else. And because of that, we can kind of keep these things there. So 2% helpful, but not going to be very helpful. But life is cumulative, and everything that you learn makes you better. I can probably do one question, potentially more, potentially two, Chris. I'm not sure, but then I know I've got some meetings. What's your advice for creating the right resume? In our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, we will teach you, or take our LinkedIn and resume workshop, and we will teach you what needs to be on your resume. Chris, we can go to the next one. That's the kind of thing that we do with our internal students. How we're doing these, will we do any live classes on Lighthall at some point? No, we were going to be doing our classes on our own platforms. We like to keep it nice, clean, and private. We do our live classes on Zoom. Would we potentially consider another webinar platform? Yes, but we intentionally do our classes on Zoom. We like it. We're in complete control of it. We don't use anybody else's platforms. I mean, we do free stuff on YouTube, but you're not going to find us on a Udemy or those kind of places. We have a very specialized training program and want to keep it that way. Do I have any advice on the Amazon TechU program? Well, we have to understand why these companies are producing these programs. They're trying to teach junior techie skills so they can hire people and not pay them very much. So I've got lots of people that have taken these things that we retrain. I will say they're great training if your goal is not to be a solution architect or a cloud engineer. If your goal is to be a cheap cloud admin, that's what the Amazon TechU program is good for. Intro level, junior level, $15, $20 an hour, techie jobs. That's what they're trying to teach with these TechU programs. So related to being a solution architect, we get people out of these programs and then we retrain them all the time because they're not teaching architecture. They're teaching hands-on junior engineering. And there's a place for that. The architects design it. The main cloud engineers build it. And everybody needs a helper. So some of these people can be assisting the cloud engineers. So that's what it's really for, junior level anything. But not going to be a good job, not going to be a high-paying job, not going to be a recommended approach that we have. We consider it to be taking up somebody's time, and the opportunity cost of their time spent there could be spent somewhere else and offer much better options. Okay, so let's probably close on this. If you guys give me a hashtag cloud architect or a hashtag solution architect, whichever career you desire, I'm going to tell you right now that tomorrow we're going to have a completely free how to get your first cloud job webinar. And, those things are kind of great, and I'd like you to be there. You'll learn everything. We currently are running a birthday special of 30% off using coupon code BIRTHDAY. That applies to our live programs, our non-live programs, and every other program that we have. So you can take advantage of the 30% discount, which is not going to be here for long, using coupon code BIRTHDAY. I'll be back on Friday answering questions in the format very similar to this. And I strongly suggest, if you're not getting a lot of responses, taking our link over thing. Is there a discount for a person who only wants to watch the recorded videos and would not have an opportunity to learn the live class? Emmanuel, we have the non-live program, the basic program that you can use for that. And of course, you can use the 30% birthday discount on that program, just like any other program. Use coupon code BIRTHDAY. The reason we created this program was it's basically half price of our primary program. It's for people that are not in a time zone where they're going to be in a position where they can attend the live classes. or for people that could not afford the live training. And we pitched that at a price point of $500. And right now with a 30% discount, people can buy that course for $350, which actually includes everything, and even includes our lab access. And to just do the labs that we would do on your own would cost you about $2,000 from the hardware you'd have to buy. So yeah, that we have the Cloud Architect Career Development Program Basic, which the cost of that has dropped down to $350 with the current coupon code that we have, or 3 payments of $130 if you use the payment plan. So I'd like to thank you all for today. Look forward to seeing you in another video, another day. Let's get cloud hired, everybody.